Well, on a day our own former Prime Minister announced he was converting to Catholicism, religion has emerged as one of the main issues dividing the contenders in the race to become the next President of the United States. It's just 2 weeks before both parties begin the process of selecting their official nominee, with the first caucus vote in the state of Iowa. And this year, on both sides, it's the closest race in living memory.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
It's a hectic weekend of campaigning for all the candidates. Just 2 weeks before the Iowa caucuses, they're desperate for every vote. And there's certainly no political holiday for local residents, what with rallies, media stunts and personal visits from the White House hopefuls. They're also being bombarded with a barrage of campaign ads, complete with a Christmas theme, of course.
I was with you right up until that last one.
I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
On the Democrat side, the margin between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama is wafer thin. The battle between them centred on foreign policy experience, or the lack of it. Bill Clinton back in his element, trying to boost turnout for his wife. John Edwards, who certainly needs a good showing here, has been talking up his working-class rural roots. But it's religion that's dominating the Republican field, with a late surge by former Baptist minister Mike Huckabee and a huge row over claims that his campaign ad incorporated a subliminal cross. But it still put him ahead of Mormon Mitt Romney in Iowa, where there's a large Christian vote, and he's hoping it could give him the national momentum he needs.
Well, with me now is George Ajjan, who's a Republican political analyst, and in Washington is the Democrat strategist Sascha Burns. George Ajjan first, how damaging do you think is the way that some of these Republican candidates are playing a religious sort of divisive card?
I think within the Republican field, religion plays a role in 3 different ways. You have those for whom religion is explicitly identified. That's particularly Mike Huckabee, being that he's a former Baptist minister, as well as Mitt Romney, who's a Mormon, which is really a minority religion. And then you have the categorization of those who approach religion from a constitutional point of view. That's best exemplified by Ron Paul, who's the most cash-rich candidate at the moment. He looks at religion from the point of view of the Constitution, which protects the citizens by forbidding the federal government from establishing an official religion, which has been unfortunately misinterpreted often in American society to establish sort of a militant secularism which wants to expunge any mention of God or of Christianity from the public sphere.
Okay. Sascha Burns, I suppose what's interesting about this election is that the front runners are no longer the front runners. So you've got divisions among the Republicans over religion and Giuliani in trouble. What's going on with Clinton and Obama?
Well, I think if I could just respond to that previous note that my colleague made very quickly, It's that I don't think it's the militant left trying to delete Christianity. I think it's following our founding fathers, which is that you don't mix religion and the state, which is, I think there's some confusion about that on the Republican side. But back to the Democrats and your question, Samira, the issue about front-runner status has become a major problem for Hillary Clinton. And I think what has happened for the race to tighten so much is that people are really sort of starting to gravitate towards Barack Obama. And when Hillary's greatest strength was that at the beginning people thought she was inevitable. She was the inevitable candidate that was going to win. No one could touch her on fundraising or campaign strategy. And Barack Obama came up, and he did, and he matched her. And when people see someone who could potentially be a winner, then they start to look a little more closely.
George Ajjan, isn't the problem that if Obama does well early on, it makes trouble for the Republicans because people don't like Hillary, and if she's out of the running, they're more likely maybe to consider voting Democrat?
Well, speaking as a Republican, I'm not terribly worried about that. I think Barack Obama's inexperience is far more important than any religious considerations that may come up on his part. Either Hillary or Barack Obama would be a delight for the Republicans to go up against in November.
What do you make of that, Sascha Burns?
Well, I think that in terms of experience, I appreciate the point. Barack Obama is young and doesn't have as much experience as Hillary Clinton. On the other hand, when you look at what the Republicans are looking at in terms of their candidate, I think that what they found in Huckabee is, as he says, divine will, that he is rising in the polls. Personally, I would think that God might be more busy with dying children in the Darfur region. But in any event, what he has is religion. That's about all we've seen from him.
But Sascha Burns, there's a point there which is neither Obama nor Clinton will make many inroads with the conservative religious right.
Absolutely not, and they won't. The evangelical bloc is the most supportive of Republicans. They're the best voting bloc that the Republicans have, and it's a different belief. It's a belief that we should turn this country into not just any religion, but their religion, which you can see by their rejection of Mitt Romney because of his Mormonism. So it's sort of a bloc that we're not going to move in our direction because they have a very different idea of what our country should be. And it's one which is a born-again Christian fundamentalist, God in front of democracy and country.
And George Ajjan, the reality is that none of the candidates on the Republican side now rouse anything like the same level of interest and passion as Obama and Clinton. Well,
at the moment, the field is rather splintered. We still have got 7 candidates in there. Huckabee's taken a surge recently, but I tend to agree with my colleague, actually. He hasn't really gotten much more than skin deep at the moment. So it remains to be seen. I think you may see Ron Paul, though, emerge as a dark horse because he's the only candidate that's had the courage to speak about the constitutional issues and tackle spending and taxes and the entitlements that are going to bankrupt the United States if we don't do something about it.
All right. Very briefly, Sascha Burns, who's your money on?
Honestly, at this point, I would say Obama. If he wins Iowa, he's got a good chance at New Hampshire, and I think he takes South Carolina. At that point, I think it's his. But I've never underestimated Hillary Clinton, and I won't yet.
George Ajjan, very briefly.
On the Democrat side, I wouldn't count out dark horse emergence by either Bill Richardson nor John Edwards. On the Republican side, it's wide open, but Ron Paul's fundraising, coupled with his unprecedented grassroots support, is going to make him quite a competitor for Romney and Giuliani and Huckabee and the other frontrunners.
George Ajjan and Sascha Burns, thank you both very much for joining us.